everyone, this is Denise, the bread advocate. Normally at the beginning of my videos I like to show you the ingredients that I'll be using for the bread, but unfortunately the video file for that portion of the video has gone missing. So I'm going to do a voice recording for the beginning. Today's bread is Sangak. It's a Persian flatbread that is cooked over stones. I chose Sangak because I'm interested in trying out breads from different cultures around the world. The ingredients for Sangak are 4 cups of whole wheat flour, 1 tablespoon of dry yeast, 2 teaspoons of salt, and 1.5 to 2 cups of water. First, I crumble the yeast into the flour so that it is well incorporated before adding the salt. Then pour in the salt, mix well, and start adding in the water. Slowly add the water until you have a firm, elastic dough. Once you have a dough that's coming away from the sides of the bowl, you will place the dough back into the bowl and cover and let the dough rest for about 8 hours. The resting time can be done overnight or during the day. I have done it both where it's resting while I sleep and also while I am doing my daily work and activities throughout the day. It is completely up to you whether you choose to cook the Sangak in the morning or if you want to cook it in the evening. My dough has been resting for about 8 hours, so I am going to bring it out onto my work surface. I'm going to knead this until it is elastic and smooth. I'm using a method where you lift your dough up, flip it out in front of you, and fold it over. This is a method often used in French bakeries. And it brings a little bit more air into the dough a little bit faster and works up the gluten, which is what causes bread to rise. I've kneaded my bread and I'm going to transfer it over to a work surface next to my stove. My dough all kneaded and I'm going to cut it into 8 equal pieces. This will ensure that I can roll the dough out into a size that will fit on my pan. So you can see I have 8 relatively equal pieces. And I'm going to roll each of them out, and this is what we'll be cooking them on today. Traditionally, Sangak is cooked over either an open flame, even a campfire, or in a brick oven with stones. But since I don't have a brick oven or any sort of outdoor oven, I'm going to use a cast iron skillet with stones inside of it. And I have placed peanut oil over the stones and in the pan so it'll be easier for the bread to release. And with that, I'm also going to put a plate on top that has been oiled. It's kind of hard to tell since it's glass, but I'm going to put that on top so that the bread will form to the stones. So while I am rolling out one of my dough pieces here, I'm going to set the others aside and place them underneath a towel so that they don't get too dry. I'm just going to go ahead and just squish this a little bit with my hands to start. get some of my flour in the middle here. Bit of flour on my rolling pin. And even though it's supposed to be non-stick, bread still has a way of sticking to things. So I'll roll this out fairly thin to about half an inch. Thinner if you like it to be a bit more crispy. And before I place it on the pan, I'm going to sprinkle some sesame seeds on top. And what I like to do to make sure that the sesame seeds stay in the bread while they're being transferred, just roll over them a little bit. That way they get into the dough. They don't always stick super well, but they stick better than just sprinkling them. So once I have it all sprinkled with my sesame seeds, I'm going to flip it over onto my pan. Turn that up just a little bit. And I'm using peanut oil. I'm using peanut oil because it's a higher temperature oil. You'll want to do a fairly high temperature oil because you need to cook this at a fairly high temperature. If you use an oil that doesn't have a high cooking temperature, you will get a kitchen full of smoke. So I'm going to place this plate on top here, and this will force the bread to form around the stones. You can see it kind of steams up a little bit. The reason why I'm using a cast iron skillet is because the cast iron holds in heat really well. So it does act a bit like a brick oven in that way. It doesn't get nearly as hot, but it does hold a lot of heat. Remove the plate so that I can check on the status of the bread here. Just flip that over. I just use some tongs to flip it over, so I do not have very tough calluses on my hands. Just gonna tap it a little bit. It's still pretty moist. I'm going to let that cook for just a bit longer. If this was being done on an outdoor stove that gets hotter, it will only be about a minute that you'll want to cook it on each side. I'm going to flip it over. And again, I'll put my plate on top for just a little bit here, so the other side will form around the stones. You can also use smaller pebbles if you want a little bit more texture. It should take much less time on the second side. You can lift it up and check how dark it's getting. Once it is cooked to your desired amount, you can put it on a plate if you're going to be serving it, preferably serving it hot. You can put it on a plate and cover it with the towel. I'm on the last of my 8 Sangak, and I just wanted to let you know about a couple things before you try it out. On the inside of the pan and on the rocks, as well as on my plate that I've been using to press the Sangak into the pan and the stones, I've brushed it with peanut oil because that is a high temperature oil. I'll leave a link to a table which shows the temperatures that each oil can make it to. So if there is someone with a peanut allergy or even a sensitivity at all, that they can find a different type of oil that works for them. I did originally try sesame oil when I first tried this recipe, and that was definitely a big mistake because it has a very low burning temperature in comparison to the peanut oil, so I had smoke alarms going off that day. So this is the lovely Sangak, and I really do wish that you could smell the loveliness of the sesame seeds and the bread and the peanut oil, all of the beautiful aromas coming off of this bread. Thank you so much for watching. I will leave links to my page, The Bread Advocate, below, as well as links to the oil temperatures and even some recipes that would go really great with this bread. If you have any suggestions of other breads to try or have any questions for me, please leave them in the comments below or contact me at thebreadadvocate.com, and please subscribe if you like this video. Thank you so much.